Let me tell you about the worst 3 minutes of my entire life. I was in school. I had to give a 5-minute presentation in English in front of the class. I had prepared, I had notes, I was ready. I walked up to the front of the room, 20 faces looking at me. I opened my mouth, and then nothing. Completely blank. I stood there in total silence for what felt like an hour. It was maybe 4 seconds, but it felt like a year. And then, and I cannot believe I'm telling you this, I said, hello, my name is Leo. They knew my name. We had been in class together for 6 months.
Oh no, oh Leo.
My name is Leo. In a class where everyone knew me. That is what panic does to your brain.
I feel that so deeply, and I think a lot of people watching right now have had a version of that moment. Maybe not in a class, maybe it was a work meeting or a job interview or introducing yourself somewhere new.
The brain just leaves the building.
Well, today we are bringing the brain back into the building because we're teaching you everything you need to give a confident, smooth, natural presentation in English.
Welcome to English Speaking Practice. I'm Leo, formerly known as the guy who introduced himself to people who already knew me.
And I'm Mia, and I promise you, by the end of this episode, you're going to feel so much more prepared for your next presentation in English. Whether it's at school, at work, at a meeting, these phrases and techniques work everywhere.
And this one is genuinely close to my heart because presentations in English when you're not a native speaker are a different level of scary.
They really are, because it's not just about knowing the content of what you're presenting. You have to manage the language, the structure, the nerves, the audience, all at the same time.
It's a lot. So where do we start?
We start where every presentation starts, the opening, because how you begin a presentation sets the tone for everything that comes after. A strong opening makes the audience trust you, lean in, and want to keep listening.
And a weak opening, like say, introducing yourself to people who already knew you.
We'll call it a learning moment. Okay, so here are the most powerful ways to open a presentation in English.
Hit me.
Option 1, start with a question. This is one of the most effective techniques in public speaking. You immediately involve the audience. For example, have you ever had to make a really difficult decision in just 10 seconds? And then you pause, let people think, and then you say, today I want to talk about exactly that.
Oh, that's good, because now I'm thinking about it. I'm already engaged.
That's the point. Option 2, start with a surprising fact or statistic. Something like, did you know that most people fear public speaking more than they fear death? And then follow up with your topic.
Wait, is that actually true?
It is actually a real study, and it gets a reaction every time because it's so unexpected.
The audience goes, wait, what? And they're hooked.
Exactly. Option 3, start with a short, relatable story. Just like you opened this episode, Leo, with a personal story that the audience could feel.
Oh, so I accidentally used good presentation technique right at the start.
You absolutely did. A short, vivid story creates an emotional connection immediately. People feel something, and when people feel something, they pay attention.
Okay, so the 3 powerful openers are a question, a surprising fact, and a short personal story.
And after your opener, no matter which one you choose, you follow it with what I call the presentation roadmap. This is where you tell the audience what they're going to hear. It sounds like this. Today, I'd like to talk about... In this presentation, I'm going to cover 3 things. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how to... I'll be walking you through...
The roadmap, so the audience knows where we're going.
Right. Nobody likes being lost. When you tell people up front what the journey looks like, they relax and trust you as your guide.
Guide. I like that. The presenter is the guide.
Exactly. And here's a quick tip that many English learners overlook. You don't have to start with, hello, my name is Leo, and today I will talk about... That's the most common beginner structure, but it's also the most forgettable.
Right, because everyone opens that way. But if you start with a question or a story, you immediately stand out.
You stand out in the best way possible. Okay, so we've opened strong. Now we're in the presentation. How do we move from one topic to the next without it feeling clunky or awkward?
Transitions, which I used to do by just saying, okay, so next.
Which works, but we can do so much better. Transition phrases are the secret to sounding polished and professional in English. They're the bridges between your ideas.
Give me some good ones.
Moving from one point to the next. Now let's move on to, this brings me to my next point. So with that in mind, let's talk about, okay, shifting gears for a moment. That covers X, now let's look at Y.
Shifting gears. I love that one. It's so natural.
Very natural. And here are transitions for when you want to add information. Not only that, but in addition to this, what's even more interesting is, and here's where it gets really important.
Ooh, here's where it gets really important. That makes the audience lean forward.
You're creating anticipation. And for when you want to give an example, for example, to give you an idea of what I mean, let me illustrate this with, think of it this way. A good example of this is,
Those are so much better than just saying, for example, every time. Let me illustrate this with? That sounds so confident.
and for going back to a previous point, as I mentioned earlier, going back to what we discussed, you might remember that I said, this connects back to our first point.
These transitions are like the glue of a presentation. Without them, everything just falls apart.
That's a perfect way to describe it. The content is the bricks, the transitions are the mortar that holds it all together.
Okay, so we're in the presentation, moving through our points. How do we make sure the really important parts actually land? Like, how do we emphasize the key stuff?
Great question, because in a presentation, not everything is equally important, and you want your audience to know without a shadow of a doubt when something really matters.
Like a verbal highlighter.
I love that. Yes, a verbal highlighter. Here are your verbal highlighter phrases. This is really important, so I want to say it clearly. If you take away just one thing from today, let it be this. I want to pause here for a moment. This is key. Pay close attention to this part. This is the most critical point I'll make today. Write this down if you can.
Ooh, write this down if you can. That one's amazing because it physically prompts the audience to engage.
And they will. The moment you say that, people pick up their pens. It's almost automatic.
And if you take away just one thing from today, let it be this. That one gives me chills a little. Very powerful.
It works because it does two things at once. It signals importance and it reduces pressure on the audience. You're saying, I'll handle the rest, just hold on to this one thing.
Smart. Okay, now real talk. What happens when things go wrong mid-presentation? Because they do go wrong. It happened to me. It will happen to everyone.
This is one of the most important sections of this whole episode, because what separates a great presenter from a nervous one isn't that great presenters never make mistakes, it's that they know how to handle them gracefully.
Yes, because the audience is not looking for perfection. They're looking for confidence and authenticity.
Exactly. So here are phrases for when you lose your place. Let me just take a moment to gather my thoughts. Sorry, let me rephrase that more clearly. Where was I? Yes, we were talking about, bear with me for just a second.
Bear with me. That's a great one. It's so graceful. You're not panicking. You're just asking for a moment.
And the audience will give it to you willingly because they want you to succeed. Most audiences are rooting for the speaker.
That's actually really comforting to remember. They want you to do well.
They're not your enemies, they're on your side. And for when you make a verbal slip or say something incorrectly, sorry, let me correct that. What I meant to say was, actually, let me go back. I misspoke there. What I should have said is,
Clean, calm, professional. No big deal.
no big deal at all. In fact, handling a mistake well can actually increase the audience's confidence in you. It shows you know your material well enough to catch your own errors.
Wow, so mistakes can actually help you.
When handled correctly, 100%, the presenter who stumbles and laughs it off and keeps going is often more likable and memorable than the one who robotically recites a perfect script.
That is genuinely life-changing information. Okay, audience questions, because a lot of people are terrified, not just of presenting, but of the Q&A at the end.
The Q&A section, yes. This is where many presenters freeze because you can't prepare for every question, but you can prepare your language responses.
So even if you don't know what question is coming, you know the phrases to handle it.
Exactly. Here are phrases to buy yourself thinking time. That's a great question. Let me think about that for a moment. Really interesting point. I want to make sure I answer that properly. I'm glad you asked that because
I'm glad you asked that, even if you're absolutely not glad they asked that.
even if that question sent a small wave of panic through your chest, you just say, "I'm glad you asked that," and smile. And for questions where you genuinely don't know the answer, that's actually outside the scope of today's presentation, but I'd love to explore that further. I don't have a definitive answer right now, but I'll find out and follow up with you. I want to give you an accurate answer, so let me get back to you on that.
Oh, those are so good, because the worst thing you can do is guess or bluff an answer when you don't know. People will eventually realize you guessed.
Always better to be honest. "I don't know, but I'll find out" is 1,000 times more credible than a confident wrong answer.
And for clarifying a question you didn't fully understand?
Great one. Just to make sure I understand, are you asking about... Could you clarify what you mean by... Do you mean X or Y specifically?
Clean, respectful, buys you a few extra seconds to process.
Always. Okay, let's talk about the close, because your closing is just as important as your opening. The last thing you say is what people carry with them when they leave.
You want to end with a bang, not a whimper.
Exactly. Here are strong closing structures in English. Step 1, signal the end clearly. As we wrap up today, before I let you go, to bring everything together, in conclusion, so to summarize.
Don't just suddenly stop. Signal it. Let people know the end is coming.
Step 2, summarize your key points quickly. Today, we've looked at 3 things. First, second, and finally, the main takeaways from today are, what I hope you'll remember is...
Quick, clean, not a full repeat, just the highlights.
Step 3, end with something memorable, a strong closing line. Options include a call to action. So I challenge you to try this today, just once, see what happens. A powerful final quote, as Name once said, and I believe that completely. A callback to your opening. Remember the question I asked at the beginning? Well, now you have your answer. A simple, warm sign-off. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed sharing this with you.
The call back to the opening, that one's so satisfying. It makes the whole presentation feel like a complete story.
It's called a bookend, and when it works, it's genuinely beautiful. The audience feels that satisfying sense of completion.
Okay, it's time for our retention trick, the thing that makes all of this stick.
I have been waiting for this one.
Okay, every presentation has a shape, and the shape is a bridge.
A bridge.
Think about it. A bridge has 2 strong ends, the pillars. Those are your opening and your closing. They hold everything up.
Yes.
And the middle of the bridge, the span, that's your content, your main points, your examples, your data.
Okay, I see it.
But what keeps the bridge from falling apart in the middle? The cables, the connectors.
The transitions.
The transitions, they're the cables on the suspension bridge. Without them, the whole structure collapses.
Your presentation is a bridge. 2 strong pillars, a solid span, and strong cables. Build the bridge every time. That is one of the best analogies we've come up with on this show.
I am very proud of it. Okay, practice time. Mia, I'm going to give a short presentation, you be the audience, and then we'll role play the Q&A.
I'm ready, and I'm going to ask a hard question.
Okay, take a breath, get into presenter mode. Okay, here we go. Have you ever noticed that the people who seem most confident aren't always the people who know the most? Today, I want to talk about why confidence in English presentations has less to do with your vocabulary and more to do with your structure. I'm going to walk you through 3 things: how to open strong, how to transition smoothly, and how to close memorably. By the end, you'll have a clear framework you can use for any presentation, starting today.
Very nice.
So, let's start with the opening. The most powerful openings don't begin with, "Hello, my name is." They begin with a feeling, a question, a story, something that pulls the audience in before they've even had time to check their phones. For example, and this is a true story, I once introduced myself to a room full of people who already knew me, and I did it because I was nervous, and nervous people fall back on scripts. So the goal isn't to memorize more words. The goal is to have fewer words you rely on and more confidence in the ones you choose. Moving on, let's talk about transitions. Think of transitions as the cables of a bridge. They're what keeps your ideas connected and your audience following along. Phrases like, "This brings me to my next point," or "shifting gears for a moment." They're small, but they do enormous work. And finally, the close. If you remember just one thing from what I've said today, let it be this: end the way you began. If you asked a question at the start, answer it at the end. Give your audience that satisfying feeling of a complete journey. To summarize, open with impact, connect with transitions, close with intention. Thank you.
Leo, that was amazing.
Thank you. My hands are sweaty, but I did it.
You used a story opener, you used a callback to the opening, you used emphasis phrases, you signaled the end, all of it.
I used everything we taught today. Okay, Q&A. Ask me something hard.
Thank you for that presentation. I have a question. You said confidence matters more than vocabulary, but what if someone's vocabulary is genuinely limited? Doesn't that hold them back?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. And actually, it connects directly to the core idea. When we talk about vocabulary in presentations, we often confuse complexity with clarity. The most powerful presenters in the world, in any language, use simple, clear words delivered with confidence. It's not about having more words, it's about trusting the words you have. So, to directly answer your question, a limited vocabulary used confidently will always outperform a complex vocabulary delivered with fear.
Leo, that answer, where did that come from?
I don't know, but I'm keeping it.
Okay, recap. Here are your key phrases. Open with a question, a fact, or a short story. Map your presentation up front with phrases like, "I'll be walking you through," use transition cables, "This brings me to my next point," emphasize with verbal highlighters, "If you take away just one thing," handle mistakes with grace, bear with me for just a second, buy time in Q&A, "That's a great question, let me think about that," and close with a callback to your opening, the bookend.
And remember, your presentation is a bridge. 2 strong pillars, a solid span, and strong cables. Build the bridge every time.
Your challenge this week: pick any topic, anything at all, and practice just the opening. Use a question, a fact, or a short story, just 30 seconds. Practice it out loud in English by yourself. And then tell us in the comments what topic you chose and how it felt.
Because here's the truth. The more you practice out loud in English, the quieter the fear gets. It doesn't disappear overnight, but it gets quieter, and you get louder.
And we are cheering for you every step of the way. You've got this, for real.
If this video helped you, please give it a like and share it with a friend who has a presentation coming up. It might be exactly what they need.
Subscribe for a brand new English lesson every single day. We cover conversations, vocabulary, confidence, grammar, slang, all of it. Always free.
All right, we'll see you in the next one.
Keep practicing.
Keep going.
And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.